All right, welcome everybody to rampancy.net. I am Narcogen.
I'm Blackstar, and here we are. We're going to go over something a little bit different than we usually do. We're actually going to be going over the new Xbox One interface. Love it, hate it, don't know what it is. We're going to go over it all, and hopefully people
I don't know if we'll go over it all, but just
what? There's only so many buttons now. You got one,
just some
two,
just some
three,
background.
4,
If
5,
you've been
6.
watching us play Mass Effect, you know that we've been playing Mass Effect 1 under the backwards compatibility mode of the Xbox One.
Yeah,
and
looking forward to that.
I solicited an invitation to the preview program earlier this year, specifically so I could get earlier access to backwards compatibility so we could try out Mass Effect on the Xbox One. It just makes it easier to record stuff. I don't have to swap out different consoles and stuff. But at that time, the new interface was actually a separate preview application that you could open, and I had no interest in that, so I don't think I ever actually did it. I only used it to get access to backwards compatibility. So in the past couple of weeks, when everyone in the preview program was moved over to this mandatorily, I was surprised as anyone to see this show up. And I also like to preface this by saying that Blackstar and I basically are Bungie fans.
Yep.
And until prior to 2001, basically were I don't know if you even say we can't even say we're PC gamers, because basically we got into console gaming with the Atari 2600 console, and I think that was the first and only console we owned, because we switched from that into 8-bit computers.
Well, what about
Commodore.
the Magnavox Odyssey? That was a console.
Well, yeah, technically, but I mean, you know, it's a glorified, dedicated Pong machine.
Pong forever.
So then we sidetracked into Commodore 64s, a series of them and their broken power supplies, and then an Amiga 500. And then when Commodore finally went bankrupt, switched over to Macintosh, because that seemed like the best of it. We had access to IBM PCs in the early 80s and played Text Adventures and NetTrek and stuff like that.
Star Trek.
Yeah. But basically the whole 8-bit console era we missed out on. We never owned a Nintendo, any of the newer Atari consoles.
We never owned those. I had a PlayStation.
You had a PlayStation for
I had
about
an original PlayStation, because when Alien Trilogy came out, I was like, shut up and take my money. And I can remember actually dumping, and I actually paid more for it than the average person and whatnot, because I had, of all things, I had a Sears card at the time, and I was terribly broke. And then I saw this, and I saw Alien Trilogy, and I said, nope, I gotta do it. And boom, slapped down the car. I think I spent $440 when that thing came out for the console and those games. And when I was working in video retail, I had the luxury of having access to every game in the place that I could play at will. I could rent whatever I wanted to, because being an employee, you had that advantage. So even when new titles came out and we got copies of them to rent, my boss and whatnot let me take whatever I like. Yeah, it was nice because the library was all fully available. But after that, no, we never got into any of the other major consoles. We never had a Nintendo. We never had a Wii. And after that,
we said major consoles. We said major consoles.
The only major one that we got was the Xbox One, and that was to play Halo.
So we got dragged kicking and screaming into the modern console era with Microsoft's purchase of Bungie. So some people basically said, I'm out of here, and I said I would buy a box only for playing Halo. And eventually I thought the original Xbox One was not that bad a piece of kit. Its interface wasn't that great, but they improved it. The 360 had a lot of hardware problems, but its interface was actually not that bad. I actually liked the blades.
No, to be honest, I prefer the interface of the original Xbox. And it's funny, because we used to call that one the Xbox One.
Yeah,
so that just gets terribly confusing.
Yeah.
But
so anyway,
no, I was never a 360 fan, to tell you the truth.
We'll get to that because it's still visible, buried in here because of backwards compatibility. So first, let's just talk about what they've actually done here on the home screen. And so the first thing that we see available to us is that a massive amount of the screen display here in the center area here is actually a big button for launching, I think, a pinned game or the last game you've played.
The last one you played, I think, is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive.
And it's not the game; it's just anything. It's whatever your last thing that you launched, whether it be Hulu
even
or
it could be
whatever.
and it could be settings even. So it takes up far more space than it needs to, and it pushes everything other than one more item off of your screen. So you have to scroll down to see anything else that you've done here. For some reason, my Xbox has correctly chosen Destiny as my second item right here.
That could be frequency, yeah.
Yeah, but below that is a Tomb Raider, which I downloaded as a freebie and have actually never even played. I suppose it's there to remind me that I own it.
That it exists.
And then Upload Studio. Now I don't even know where the pins went, because in the original Xbox One Dash there was a place where you could pin a bunch of icons in a corner. I don't know where they've gone.
Well, take a look. If you scroll down even more, and maybe it's off your screen, because if you scroll down a little bit, you can actually see this little text line that says my stuff. And that's something that I never liked, and that's a Windows thing where they put my to everything, which makes no sense. Because if I'm sitting in front of your Xbox,
I don't have that. Did you get today's update?
Was there an update for the interface?
Yes, there was an update. There was an Xbox Dash update today.
Let me look.
So anyway,
I have it. My stuff. If you scroll down enough to say the first or second thing.
Nope. It's Snap. Now that is Snap an app.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, and get more. I'm looking at your screen and I see my stuff.
Where?
It's in the bottom left. See, it's so hard he can't even see it.
All right. Okay, yeah. So way down on the second screen here. Yes, my game. Yeah, so here apparently are my Snap apps, and here's Mass Effect. So you have to scroll down 2 screen lengths to get to that.
Yep.
Meanwhile,
see my stuff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, a whole 20% of the screen on the right here is basically advertisements.
Yep.
And if I move over another screen, we can look at what else they've done here with stuff. The activity feed now has massive amounts of wasted space in it. You can see here, basically, I've got a thumbnail of a clip from a person on my friends list, and I've got that person's user icon and some links to. It shows me, I guess, how many favorites and comments it's on there and how long ago it was. But since that whole right-hand side of that is reserved for this user card, most of it is unused. I don't know what could or should be there, but because it's next to a clip and the clip is a certain ratio, and that's all it is. And again, the whole right side of the screen, about a third of it or so, again, is just promotional.
Yep. Well, it's just a different type of ad, whether they're advertising a particular title individually or something else.
One guide, I guess, is a place where movies, TV shows, and music apps are all supposed to be here. But functionally, this is also all advertisements.
Yep.
And the store also has gotten rid of almost all of the easy ways of browsing anything in order to just be promoted. So here we have new releases and top rated. There is an opportunity to browse all games.
Now notice that when you, this is something that Windows also does, which I find terribly annoying. Scroll up to the top and everything, and you'll see that when you get to that certain point, the menus then change. The very menu that you're on, the reference
I'm going to get to that. Yeah,
is gone. And yeah, I want to shoot whoever thinks that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So back again on the home screen here. Most of the functionality, though, you're going to want to get to, right, is you want to launch a game, you want to see your friends list, you want to see your party, messages, and settings. That stuff is all in this sidebar, which is along the left-hand side. And in addition to having just some of the ugliest damn icons I think I've seen in any consumer electronics product ever.
To be honest, I just think that they phoned it in. They're beyond minimal. There's minimal, and then there's lazy.
They also have lots of wasted space around them. And of course, this one, which is the Friends Online icon, which is telling me I have 10 friends online, is almost visually indistinguishable from the party icon, which I guess is one person standing in front of 2 people, or one person with two smaller people on his shoulders. I don't know what is that supposed to be.
I don't know.
Then below that, you've got messages and notifications, both of which are text bubbles. It's just that one is 2 interlocking text bubbles, and one of them is one big text bubble with text in it.
There's a big rectangle, another. There's no distinguishing features in that.
Yeah, like those first 2 top icons look too much like each other. The second 2 also look too much like each other.
Yep. And then we've got the standard gear for settings. I don't know how that equated.
But it's an ugly gear, and they managed to make that somehow
actually
look
it's so
unattractive.
small it kind of looks like a distorted flower. That's how lazy
it
is.
But that's not
what's
even
the one
worst.
underneath it. I still don't know what
that's the snap an app. That lets you choose an app to snap. And of course, what it is it's a picture of a widescreen TV with a sidebar on the right to represent snapping.
That's supposed to be the universal representation of a
TV.
But
that is again not the and of course now since I opened the store, the main thing on this is the store. Fallout 4 has been pushed down on top of Destiny. And of course, the store page itself now is divided just the way that it would be if it was full screen with all of its elements inside. But this isn't even the bad part. The bad part really is what happens when I take the selection area, which right now is the main window, right? I've got the main window selected, and there's this little white border around that to let me know that I've done it. Now, what's going to happen is that I'm going to push left with the stick to move into this menu bar and watch what happens with this. First of all, the screen dims.
Yeah.
And then the selection moves into a green highlighted area, which is not it's the same function, but not the same appearance as the white border around the boxes that you get in the main window.
Right. It's a pop out.
Yeah. And of course, the height of the selection I had before, it does not match the height of this menu. The only thing that's consistent about these things is their order. So now the sidebar has moved to the middle third of the screen, and moving up and down moves this, and the content in the left-hand sidebar changes. Meanwhile, the whole right side of the screen, the advertisements stay where they are, although they are now dimmed.
You notice that.
And the middle of the screen is now a partial view of the home screen that I cannot interact with in any way. I can see that it's there, but I cannot interact with it.
Yeah, annoying.
In any way.
Why they just didn't slide that thing out or have a separation between those two. The dimming on the right also, I mean, I guess it's designed to indicate where you are as opposed to where you were, but the reference point on the selections between them, it's jarring, your reference
and it's just,
is
I don't
off
have a
slightly.
I don't have a problem with the idea of dimming. It's really just the way this has been done here. It's just that all of this screen real estate is now unused.
Yep.
And they haven't given proper prominence to the thing I'm interacting with.
Right. Or
because now I'm forced to deal with only the left quarter of the screen for the content that's in these sidebars.
Yep.
And there's no spatial stability between this. Now, where's my selection gone when I move from left to right in this space? And it happens again if you watch now. Now that I've got my selection criteria here, and I'm going to push left on the stick again, and actually, it didn't do that. It didn't do it that time. It seems to be inconsistent. Well, no. Sometimes it goes straight across, but sometimes it seems to highlight the first person on the list.
Yeah.
And of course, because if I choose somebody on the list now and I push right, it goes back, of course, to this bit again, not to the right of where your selection is. So it doesn't matter how far you down over here, you're always going to pop back over there. It's just really terrible. And
or should I say, it's not living up to its potential. It's like they got used to something, or they just said, okay, this is good enough, and we're moving on to something else.
And clicking on another name now brings up your information in the sidebar, which does give some convenient links to join party and join game, which is convenient, especially for games that don't have good interfaces for that. Like Destiny has a good interface for that, so it's not a problem.
All right, stay on this thing for a second, because for my logic is that the number two things you're going to want to do with someone is either to join them, join their party, join their game, or invite them to your party or your game, okay? Those are the two things that you would want to do the most. And yet, what do you have here? You've got both of those options, and they have sub-menus you have to click.
Yes.
So instead of just having join party, join game, invite party, invite game.
Yeah, when you click things in this area, it opens up a sub-menu that pushes the other items down further off the screen. So again, we're only dealing with the left 20% of the screen, and we have to put all those items in here. The right side is not being used at all. Even the advertisement bit is not the majority. The majority is this inactive, unused center 40% of the screen or so.
Giant icon and text to say, this is who I am, this is what I've got, and this is... Why?
And then
a
further,
tiny bar at the top. And,
further, when you click profile, there's now this, at least for me anyway, a lengthy load process. Now I get a full screen interface, but look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all of the wasted space everywhere on this screen.
And what kills me is that predominantly over a lot of things, even though the space is gigantic, look at the text font size.
Yes, they're all tiny. They're all tiny. I mean, my face is literally less than a foot from a 1080p TV that is, I think it's a 32-inch. So it's a sizable TV, and I'm sitting very close to it.
Oh, please. I'm sitting in front of a 60, and I'm about 3 feet away, and the text is still small. So
a lot of the text is very small. And if you're dealing with even a much bigger TV at normal living room distance, is really
I can't.
Quite
sitting
far
at the couch,
away.
I can't even read it. I'm sorry. You know.
Yeah.
It's just,
and for some reason as well, all these menu items on the right. These are the same menu items that were on the left half of the screen in the earlier menu.
Yeah,
I don't know why they've moved to the right.
I don't know either. Yeah,
especially since this information which is here is really not useful at all. Like, for instance,
yet now you have the room, and they still bury invite and join options under submenus, and there's a more button for another submenu, rather than just having the actual buttons.
Right.
So
now I
you're
could see
3 or 4 deep when you only need to be 1 or 2.
Yeah. So that you're in the Xbox One home, that's useful information, but the number of followers and friends is not really
relevant to my universe.
Also, I would say it's very unclear now. How do I return from this page to where I was before? I mean, obviously, hitting the home button will bring you back to home.
Or maybe
but that doesn't bring me back to where it was. Yeah, but it doesn't. See, the back button just brings you back to home again.
Yep. So why would I want to see
So I would
my
have to
followers
go back
and
to
friends?
home and then move over and then move over again, and then that would bring me back to this screen.
Why would I or anyone else want to see the total number of my followers and or friends at any given time when looking at my profile?
Yeah. And also,
how is that relevant?
When looking at a profile when you have a game open, that also mutes and or pauses if a game can pause. If you're playing a single player game, this is going to pause the game. And if you're playing a multiplayer game, that game is going to go inactive, which means you're not going to be getting audio from the game anymore, and you're not going to have any input, which means that, like if you're playing Destiny, you could be killed and you wouldn't even know it because there's no longer any input from the game once you load a player profile.
Right.
Now, just for comparison's sake, what I'm going to do now, if I can find it, is I'm going to load up Mass Effect. Assuming I can. Is it going to let me do that now? Your game will start soon. Do you? Oh, okay. It wants the disc.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's fine. I have it right. I have it right here. From back when discs, games came on discs.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, actually, there are some, as with all things, advantages and disadvantages. And one of the advantages is being able to install it on demand when needed without a net connection, especially if there are net issues that you're having at the time. Also, trading, selling, sharing, what have you. There's that. But the convenience of just simply saying, "Hey, I want to buy such and such," or even like
Mass Effect wants an
pre-ordering something. That's not surprising. But hey, that could be a good thing. But having the convenience of ordering something like Star Wars Battlefront, I ordered it a couple of days ago before the thing was released, and it literally gave me a notification when, okay, it's midnight, now you can play it. And that I thought was really cool. Wow, 7:06. This could take a while.
Hopefully not. And I'll just cut this part of the video out anyway. Oh, and here's the other thing that I haven't quite figured out yet. I guess it's because I don't have a real name, but up here they actually do a little crossfade where it has my user pick.
Why does it say your name twice?
I think at some point it wanted me either to enter a last name or a real name, and I didn't want to give it that information, so I put in Narcogen again. So for some reason it lists, there's my gamer tag, Narcogen with my gamer score, and the other one I think is what it thinks my first and last name is which is just
Yeah,
Narcogen, because I didn't want to
that's-
give that information out except
Yeah.
for payment. I mean,
I'd probably just put like none of your business. So yeah,
okay,
that
so here we
cycling
go.
through seems. That'd be nice to be able to turn that off because that's weird. Oh yeah, so the update's almost done. Of course, now it's got to load
Yes.
it.
Now it should be ready to launch.
Now I will say this now because you have the original, or should I say, first gen Xbox One. I just recently got the Elite, and reason for that being is that I wanted to get the Elite controller, but I also wanted the newer Xbox that has the 1 terabyte drives, which is twice the original ones, but it also has a SSD cache drive in it as well.
La-di-da.
Yeah, it's got that hybrid drive, and to be honest, it really does make games load faster.
I'm sure it does.
A
I know people
lot.
have been saying that it really helps with Fallout 4 because Fallout 4 has some stuttering issues when you're crossing over into zones and when things get busy, and they say running it off an SSD really, really helps.
The other thing, though, that is kind of a not very advertised is the fan is different. They upgraded the fan in
Really?
this puppy, and yes, now I'm in a room where it is so quiet sometimes I can hear my fluorescent lights humming away. I cannot hear the Xbox at all now.
Right.
And
Okay.
before
So
you
anyway,
hear a whirring in the background, so that is a big
Oh.
plus.
syncing cloud storage. All right. I guess I have to wait a little bit more. It's making
It's doing
copies
its
of my
thing,
saves.
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so apparently you can, and I've already done this before. You can access the guide by holding in both bumpers on the Xbox
Yes!
One controller.
Gee, wouldn't that be nice to have that back for the Xbox? One?
It doesn't.
Oh, is
It
not
doesn't
working
work anymore.
No, that was one of my favorite features.
Oh wait. Let me just double check. I want to make sure I'm doing that right.
Yeah, maybe pushing the wrong button. Because yeah, getting that Xbox 360 dash back, that was cool. In the emulator, it was still there. Maybe they goofed it.
Oh, okay. I think it's the view. You have to press the view button at the same time you press the bumpers.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
let's try that.
Let me just double check.
Internet, please stand by. You're experiencing technical testings.
Because basically, if you want to manage your storage options, like where your save games are, you need access to the 360's menus. Because a lot of the games don't have that stuff in its own
available.
menus.
Yeah, you've got to go into that one, and if it's gone, well, you're kind of in trouble.
Where is it? Yeah, how do I access the Xbox 360 guide? Pressing the view and menu. Oh, okay, no, it's not the bumpers. It's the view and menu buttons. Okay,
Well, yeah.
there we
Did you
go.
remap something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
No,
there we
no.
go.
Okay, so there we go.
Ta-da!
Now,
isn't that
just
nice? It's
just
refreshing.
look at this compared
to
what
the other
Now,
one.
some of it is similar, right?
Take
Because
a screenshot.
what you've got is the interface is now front and center, directly in your view. The text is of reasonable
It's
size.
large. Well, no, this is what kills me. Literally, you're in a box that has got to be about 1/6 the size of the other one, and yet the text is larger and easier to read.
Yes. Now, the area outside the box, of course, is also dimmed like it was. But notice the game is still running. You can still hear the sound, and if I was actually playing the game live, the game would still be running in the back of this interface. It
Not
doesn't
to
pause.
mention-
It doesn't
yeah.
force the game to pause.
Also, if you notice in the bottom, there is that simple bar on the bottom that tells you what each one of those buttons
Yes.
does in this instance.
Color-coded icons tells you what each one of your controller buttons does.
Yeah.
And also in this bar on the right, you have high contrast, clearly shaped icons that indicate exactly what these things are. Chat, okay, beacon may be a little bit weird. Maybe you don't know what beacons are.
Mhm.
I think that's a thing they got rid of because nobody used
the
it.
people icons I was never a fan, but messages is a
Messages,
letter.
it's quite
That
clear.
I get.
It's no longer chat. I prefer the idea of messages as opposed to chat. Chat to me is the live audio. It's not. I don't want to think about it as being chat. And also, when you swipe left and right with the controller,
You go to a new tab.
you go to a new tab. The spatial relationships are more or less preserved.
Yes, you don't lose your frame of reference.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to get lost in this. And of course, a lot of things are missing here because it's not a real 360.
Right, but imagine if they actually kept them the way that you needed. If all of the functionality that you need could be managed by something like this. Now imagine having a larger space. Even if you were to double or triple the size, you still wouldn't take up the whole. Yeah, there you go. Use that window. Use something that big for the main menu scaling with the text. Exactly. Maybe make it even a little larger for couch.
And all this text is readable, and when it needs to expand to take more of the screen, it does. And the back button always behaves predictably. It always goes exactly right back to where you were.
And even here, this window here with the achievements, when you get the listing of the achievements, a space like that is all you really need for your Windows functions. But of course, they wouldn't do something like that because ads. They're probably getting tons of ad revenue by pushing that on people's desktops and using a quite large portion of their screen real estate.
Right.
But this is better. This is simpler. This is
cleaner. And here you can see the
and
friends list. Look at how much of the screen the friends list takes up now. There's just these two bars in the back. But again, I can still hear the game audio. The game is still running, unlike the Xbox One, which apparently cannot show my friends list at the same time it's doing this.
Yeah.
Or it just has to show it just in the portion of the screen. But it's showing me the player icon, the player name, what they're doing right now, and what platform they're on.
Yeah. And to be honest, this is a little easier to read than the other one.
All in a very easy to read list, and I can use the triggers so I can scroll through it very quickly. It's just it's hard. It's hard not to imagine that people internal to Microsoft who have access to both these interfaces can't see how much worse they've made it, unless it is purely intentional and it's all just to maximize the amount of space available for ad sales.
Well, all I can think of is that either they're people that have left and gone on to other things, they're totally different teams. They maybe even have competing teams saying, "Hey, everyone come up with their own thing and we'll vote on it at the next board meeting." Who the heck knows, as far as the internal structure of development of these things. Or it could be that they simply had to implement an idea of one of their managers that said, "Hey, okay, we're going to be doing like this, make it happen." I mean, I have no clue whatsoever how that works or the development process, but yeah, it could be that they're in conflict with what the design elements that people want to have included. So at a certain level, hey, we want to sell advertisement. We want to focus on extra content. We want to push these different venues of getting things. And they're trying to shoehorn those concepts into something, and other elements of control and feasibility are taking a backseat to that. I don't know how or why that happened, but it looks like either they saw what other people were doing. Now, here in their defense, this thing over here for settings, I love how the settings are now. I love this. Yes, I do. I have to say that I like this because each one, you've got a bar on the left-hand side with the text. Now, the text is too small. That's a given.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But the simple fact that...
Text is too small.
Yep, text is too small. But you can scroll down every one, and then over on the right-hand side, you get the selectable options for what that category is. That, to me, is perfect. And why they didn't incorporate something similar to that with the rest of the functionality of the game, where you're looking for people, titles, joining, adding, removing, updating, whatever, that would have been a million times better. This that I see right here is awesome. They just need to change scaling. And
I would say this is still really terrible in a lot of ways.
Oh no,
let's look at it first of all. First of all, these icons once again are
the icons are terrible. That's a
travesty. They are a travesty.
And they're way too small.
Sign in is what, with the person with an arrow sticking out of their chest.
What does that mean?
I have no idea what that is. Okay, at least here, what you get here, before, right, we saw that sometimes things were highlighted with a white border, and some things they were highlighted with a green background, and now they're highlighted with a white border and a green background.
Right. I'm just talking about the bones. I'm talking about the scaffolding of what is designed.
Wait, I'll get to it. Get to it. And over here is two people with a lock. Okay, I get it. It's terrible. It's content restrictions. I mean, but it's terrible. It's terrible.
People.
Now this one, I suppose,
I think is supposed to be the worst.
I think it is. It's a person, and where the other one has an arrow, this one I guess has what's supposed to be a minus symbol.
Yeah.
But because it's
like
just hovering in space by himself, it could be anything. That could be his arm. That could be a desk he's leaning his hand on.
Genitalia.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be anything. There's also no consistency of scale for the people whatsoever.
You noticed that.
So family, and the other thing is this: is that there's so much dead space around
Everywhere.
all of these
dead
icons.
Space within
Why?
dead space.
Why? I just don't see the reason. Payment and billing. What is this supposed to be? This looks to me like a Mac 2 CI. I don't know. Maybe they thought it was a credit card. I guess.
Maybe. No, but even so, the credit card numbers would be different. You wouldn't just have this little dash.
I know. And this icon over here looks very similar to the chat icon on the previous menu.
Yeah, what was that about?
It's just that it's, again, lines of text in a square. The edges of the box here are not rounded, and then there's also now an arrow in the corner.
But
somehow,
why is it also
that is supposed to represent subscriptions? I don't know. Is this a magazine? I mean,
who the heck knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, what I can't quite fathom is the fact that when you think about it, everyone's been pushing the whole idea of having 1080p gaming. All right, the 720 has been kind of like the middle ground for a while, but now everything's 1080p, and everyone now has got 1080p televisions.
This is 720 because I don't have a capture device that can do 1080p.
But as far as the
Xbox One's frame rate,
but as far as the permutation out there, everybody out there has got at least a 1080p TV, and most people are actually moving even beyond that. Now 4K TV.
No, we're not.
Standard.
There's no 4K content. Go away.
Yep.
Go away. Anyway.
That I agree with. But the point being is that now you have this high definition palette of a much higher resolution. And yet when you compare it with the old one, they've actually shrunken the text down. They have increased the volume of dead space or dead air, if you will. And yet they don't need to in any way, shape, or form, because now the entire palette is bigger and you have more space to work with, and you've gone backwards.
And you can't even use this on an older TV, right? Because it only has HDMI output. They don't have the old video cables that you used to have. So it's not like you're running this on an old tube set.
Right. You can't argue that no, we needed to make this work for 480p. No, there's no way that would be a requirement whatsoever. So why they pick this text font size and even this font style? The font style isn't bad, but like you said, the icon style, I don't know what it is, but it is beyond minimal in the necessity of it. It's like somebody's little kid drew it around with a single pencil line and said, "Yeah, Daddy,
this looks like
this."
they didn't want to. It looks like they didn't want to pay anybody.
They phoned it in.
So privacy and online safety is a big lock by itself, but content restrictions are two people talking about a lock. I don't know. Now, okay,
I think they're locked together.
So then you've got personalization, which my profile again is another person. Just by themselves. My color and background is a paintbrush. Okay, I guess. My home Xbox. I guess that's supposed to be an Xbox. It kind of looks like the credit card from the payment page.
Go to my color and background. Just for a second. Go to my color. Yeah, this is the point I wanted to make about
color
selections and options here. Because when you click on it, you get your palette options for the different functionalities of it, right? So that being said, why is it that of the available colors that you have, they're even limited? Okay, now your achievement art you can put as black in the background. That I love. You can even put in custom images or a screenshot.
But you can't put in a custom color, right? There's no way to bring up. There's no way to bring up a color wheel or anything like that,
right? No. Or a selectable thing or whatever. But the other thing is that you can't make the button highlight ones be black, and if you were to do that, it would make the interface, I think, look better. You're forced to pick a color to go with this.
So now they've broken the settings down into multiple categories, right? So we've seen account, personalization, and then networking. Each one of these has, this for instance has 7 sub items. This one only has 3. Then you get down to network. Network has 1.
There's 1. Well, network is network. What other option can you have? So
network used to be under system. Why isn't it under system anymore? Are people getting that lost? I mean, is the priority really to make this list longer so that it uses the whole screen?
Why is system and preferences 2 separate things? I mean, aren't your preferences? You know what I mean?
Sure about
Why
that
isn't
either.
System preferences?
Oh, and also we reuse an icon here because, and also, first of all, what is the difference? Account has content restrictions,
Oh,
and
an
then
account sign out thing.
and
Yeah,
then
is sign out
system
content
has
restriction.
signed out content
Same icon.
restrictions. I can guess what that means. That basically means what are the content restrictions on the box when no one is signed in, I guess.
Why aren't they together? It's just
This language and location, that was not that bad. It's a globe, I guess. It seems like you basically would need a couple more lines to be sure it's a globe instead of kind of just looking like a spirograph.
It does. Wow, remember spirographs?
Storage, I guess,
We're
is a
totally
USB
dating
stick
ourselves.
and an Xbox.
Get kids, fire up the internet and look up spirograph.
Okay, so notifications, and again, this looks a lot like what earlier was chat. Actually, no, chat was the 2 bubbles. Notifications was the 1 bubble, but then there was a subscription one that was like a notification bubble with an arrow on it.
Yeah.
Game DVR. Why does that look like Wi-Fi? That looks like it ought to be the networking icon.
Thank you. And the other one, preferred video provider. Okay, there's that universal HD TV icon thing there.
Yeah, but it's got what looks like
text in it.
Text on it. I don't know why is, I guess because a TV by itself is too generic. I don't know what that pattern is supposed to represent either. I have no idea. This is probably the best one of it all, right? Because the Kinect one actually looks like a Kinect, and the devices and accessories for controllers, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah. But it's almost as if they made a self-imposed restriction on not only the size of the icons, but how many pixels.
Dig this deep into the menu to turn the console off? I've got no idea. I suppose it's here just because if you didn't have it here, this would be another menu item with only one sub item.
Right. Turn off or restart. Well, the only thing I can think of is that there may be people that are working on functions here, like troubleshooting their networking or other peripherals, and want to restart, but instead of actually holding the home button until that comes up, they wanted to have it in the menu. That's the only thing I can think of. It seems kind of silly or arbitrary because you can shut off the console by simply holding on the Xbox button.
I don't want to do that. I do not have any television provider plugged into this, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a functionality and whatnot that isn't that important to me.
And button mapping, which I've not talked about at all. So
no, I actually need to learn it because the button mapping stuff. Apparently, with the Elite controller, there are 2 profiles you can install on it, and I haven't had a chance to play with the apps yet. And I wasn't sure if it was an app that I needed to play with on the Xbox itself because I can't seem to find any other than the remapping button. Or if it's an online thing.
Oh, and even
go to a website.
Notifications has subcategories. Because it has social notifications and activity feed notifications.
Why can't a notification just be a notification?
Now, at least I can say here that the back button behaves predictably here. So for instance, if you go into social or the other one, you can hit the back button to get back out of it. So that's good.
Well, here you get the press to X to dismiss item and stuff. Why don't we have all of the options available? Back, forward, select.
Practically hidden here. Like the entirety of the content you're dealing with now is on the left side of this line.
But they put it in the top middle.
So suddenly this area over here is now active, where up to now it's been ignored. So, it was really not obvious how you get rid of this. Oh, yes, okay. It's great that he liked that. What do I do about that? Okay, I could clear all, but what if I didn't want to clear them all?
Right.
What if I wanted to clear just some of them?
Or one of them.
And that bit is hidden right there, away from all the rest of the unused space that's ghosted out over the rest of the screen. And
do not get...
I guess I should just clear all of those just to have a clean slate. And that does not show up apparently for messages, just for notifications. So.
Now, here's a question I have. Do we have any footage, or maybe we could look around and see if we can find some, of the PS4's interface? Because I don't have one personally, and I've only seen it for a very, very small time when somebody came by to record some gameplay video at my studio. So
no, I'm not familiar. I'm
wondering if maybe they're trying to usurp some from other popular interfaces that other consoles out there are using.
I honestly have no idea. I'm
curious.
I have to admit, it was a near miss. Given that Bungie is now doing cross-platform titles again, it was a near miss that I didn't decide to go with a PlayStation. It ultimately came down to it seemed like a majority of the people that I already had on my friends list were remaining within the Microsoft ecosystem. Probably
I would
because
have stayed
their
simply because
situation
of
was
Halo.
the same.
Yeah, I would have stayed simply because of Halo. Personally,
Yeah,
I could get either console. I know people that we play Destiny 2 do use both consoles. The only thing for me is I don't want to be going through the whole same game twice to get the same things for the same stuff if I don't have to. And that, I don't know, I could probably be semi-annoying to do. I don't know, maybe you really like going through your stuff over and over again,
now,
maybe.
Here's a feature that I actually kind of like, except that I dislike a lot of its implementation again here. This is the Game Hub functionality. So what this brings up again is that when you go into this, which is basically a little app icon that's right next to launching the game, or a submenu when you're looking at a tab for the game, brings up the info. And the first tab of this, which is basically a whole new app, it has its own set of menus across the top here.
Yeah.
You get a full screen thing. One, again, is text size, right? You got down here in this area, this is the name of the developer in tiny, tiny type, where it says Bethesda Game Studios. And then the name of the game and a little promo text here. Now, this is, as a store page for the game, it would work fine, but I already own the game. So kind of selling me the game. And then, of course, in addition to the background, now we have the icon as well, which is the same icon it uses in the launcher. And then it's also kind of weird now because the selection on this screen is actually very, very subtle. So if you just look here under info, you can see that this is now underlined. So we have another way of indicating what item is selected, because elsewhere there are borders and there are backgrounds, but now we also have underlines that are only used in this top menu area here. So it's really unclear looking at this what's going to happen again when I hit right on the controller. In this case, it actually moves across that info. And if I move down, you can see that the selection actually leaps all the way across the right-hand side of the screen from the left-hand side of the top menu, info, over to the top item in the right side menu here, which is unfollow, launch game, and see it in the store.
Yeah, and the viewability is variable based on the background of the title you're going with. So if there's a busy background somewhere, that's going to be a lot harder to read.
Right. Now,
here it's not even that great. The boxes,
why I don't know. For instance, if this top menu was actually left justified, and if you swapped the promo information here, the description, the title, and the icon over to the right-hand side, and then moved this submenu over to the left-hand side, then what would happen is when you move down from info, it would move directly down from info right down to that first button instead of leaping from an inconsistent position in the middle of the screen, right? Because the position of this button for info actually changes based on how many items are in this menu because the menu is centered. If the menu was left justified, then it would always be in this upper left-hand corner, just the way things are, like in the file in the Apple menu on a Mac or on a normal Windows application where that first menu is always in the same position. It may be relative to the window as opposed to relative to the screen like it is on a Mac, but at least you still know where to go for it. In this case, depending on, some of the screens have various numbers of items across this menu, and so that first item is not always going to be in the same position. Feed. This appears to be a glorified custom version of Twitter. And again, it's only text. At least the text is decent size. But of course, again, still most of the screen is wasted with useless background. In this case, it isn't even a dimmed version of the previous screen. It's just blank. Is good. But at least the text is big.
Well, you know what's funny? The icons and the numbers, though, are minuscule. They're absolutely shrunken beyond readability at a certain
And in this
distance.
case, okay, it's a new game, but only 2 items. So like launch day and the day after launch day, that's it. That's all they've given me.
Wow.
And this other one now, this is also interesting. This is the achievements page, right? But actually, achievements is a very small portion of what's actually on this screen because
ironically,
the whole top 2/3 is devoted to other things. First of all, we have this compare with friends option, which is fine. That's interesting. Although again, it's hard to get to, right? Because when I go from when I go from achievements, which is currently selected, and I hit down, it brings me here to achievements. It skips over this other item here, which is compare friends, even though it's intervening, because I guess it wasn't directly below achievements.
Right.
And of course, if I move left from achievements, I go to another page. So there's actually no way to get from there, except I have to go down to this and then over and then up to make that work. The compare with friends is a neat feature. But achievements in Gamer Store are still a small percentage of what's actually on here. It actually has level reached, quest completed, locations discovered, game progress, and then below that it has the list of actual achievements. But again, look at the huge river of wasted space here. We've got the Gamer Score in tiny little type way over on the right all by itself. And then you've got tiny type over here with the description.
Yeah, why is that 60 feet long?
I have no idea. I have no idea why that is. Why didn't they simply
have two columns, one on the left, one on the right, and on the right-hand side, seriously, take out that entire block, bring those things over, and I must imagine there must be a maximum amount of text or a needed text
You could do it the way the guy did it on the 360, which was you could consolidate these items in the center of the screen and bump up the text size and just have dead space on the left and right. But they've made it in the middle here so that you have to follow your eye over and go, oh, okay, I've got it. Oh, sorry, didn't mean it. I'm dragging the wrong screen. You have to go over from this to go over and see the Gamer Score on the right hand side. Why that isn't? I mean, that could just as easily be on the left, right next to this thumb.
Yeah.
And then you could have all the dead hand side on the right. I don't know why.
I think there's a misperception about the palette being horizontal that designers, for whatever reason, or graphic designers, when doing things, think they have to be limited or utilizing or going along those linear lines. I think maybe they didn't have enough information to fill up stuff, and the only way they thought of is like, let's just do it all across.
And here's the other thing. There's actually two separate features that compare you with friends on your performance in a given game.
Yeah,
one of them is this next tab, which is friends, or you can actually dig down into any of these individual comparisons. And this is the way I find it's most valuable to do it, right? So I just pick one of these Gamer Score achievements, time played, and it brings up this, which is a little, I don't know why, it's a leaderboard. I don't know why they don't call it a leaderboard, but it is a leaderboard. This is just like what the old Xbox Live Arcade leaderboards used to be. You could compare your performance in game, scores, Gamer Score, time played, achievements gotten, stuff like that. And once you're in this screen, you can actually go down and choose a nice little submenu that lets you switch modes. So I can go time played, game progress, level reached, quest completed. And these are game specific, right? Because not every game has quests or locations or levels.
Right.
They may have a percentage of game progress as a standard thing, but these other things are game specific. So obviously the developer is able to put in specific kinds of milestones here that you can compare. I honestly don't know how Boxer has managed this 6 days. I mean, that's almost the amount of time since the game come out. It's the 22nd. The game launched on the 10th, and he's got 6 days of gameplay. And that's not in-game. That's actual real-time
It's 3 more than Jay Chapman, too. It's like, wow.
It's double. Yeah, it's double amount of time
Chapman's
I've
beat
got.
You by like 10 hours, but Boxer's got 3 days on you both.
I've also found that doesn't count hours you play offline. So I actually spent a weekend where I did play 24 hours more than I've listed there, but it doesn't count those in that total because I was offline during that time. I thought it would update once I logged in again,
Apparently
but it doesn't. That time counts on my save game, but doesn't count towards this.
Now, whose fault was that?
And again, remember that menu that was across the screen, the info achievement? It's gone.
Yes.
There's
not to mention, look at these giant bars. These giant bars of more
more dead space.
Even within that space, you can make that font of the name title.
I'm also using
using
one of the old icons, so that just gets centered instead of being blown up to a reasonable size. It gets centered there.
They've got their animated characters, but you've got this tiny postage stamp in the middle of a giant circle.
Yeah, there's also no indication anywhere on the screen of how you return to the other area. And swiping left and right doesn't do anything. It lets you move between these items, and you can scroll up and down the list. Again, the back button behaves predictably, but there's no visual indication that that's what you should use.
No, and it would be nice if it had. I did a quick look on the interwebs, and yeah, there was a PS4 walkthrough interface for their 2.0 update that I want to say was about maybe a year ago. So I don't know what's actually changed between then and now, but I do have to say there are some similar icon designs as far as functions of the device, but their background seems to be animated. I don't know if that's an on or off feature. And a lot of their menus simply transition over the existing, so your frame of reference is actually kept the same.
Now notice here on some of the other players who have the old icons, it's actually presented as a reasonable size compared to the others. But on the previous screen it's not. And this is a useful screen because it lists all your friends who play this particular screen, and also because they put it in 3 columns here, they're using all the space. The font is still a little bit too small.
Yeah, but you could have made that bigger if you wanted to. I mean, look at the space in between the columns. You could have increased that. Yeah, I don't know, maybe 20%, and still been able to have it be legible and readable.
God, and then it gets even worse.
Yeah, then you go back, and then you get
so
that
then
again.
when you use the compare with friends, that brings up 2 columns. But again, look at the use of space here. Look again.
Why? Yeah.
All of the dead space. They've decided to make the player icons circular, which means that.
And I love your postage stamp again.
All of this stuff, tiny little postage stamp. But it also takes up this whole part of the screen. There's not any information in this portion. 90% of the screen is the menu and this thing. You all have to scroll down, and again look at the river of wasted space in the middle of this, where I've got a tiny little number on the side for gamer score and achievements and level reached.
Could we make it smaller?
And then over on the side is the value for the other player.
And what is this giant icon on the left here that looks like it doesn't need to exist? If we're looking at gamer scores and achievements, why is that there?
See, this was built on, I think, the old thing of comparing achievements in terms of whether you have them or not.
Right.
So this whole thing here is to show you the little thumbnail
but that black square with
for
the
lines. Achievement.
Why does that exist?
Because it's not an achievement.
Is it a placeholder?
Yes, it's a placeholder, because these things are the standard comparisons for gamer score, number of achievements, level, quests, locations. These are game specific, but they don't have
the title. Yeah,
they don't have they don't have thumbnails.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I get it. Well, they need to make better. So in other words, they phoned in replacements for gamer score, achievements, quests, and all those other things. They didn't even bother to make individual icons for those. They just threw up a generic and said, we'll just throw that in there.
Yeah.
Whereas each game title has its own to identify the game title. That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm also not sure I understand the use of color here. I guess the comparison between the green and the orange is just
you and them,
me versus Boxer. But of course, once you scroll down this list, right, I can no longer see the name of the player I'm comparing to. Right. So by the time I get to the bottom of the list, I don't know. I thought maybe that the color was an indication of who had gotten it first. Like, for instance, here. But here, notice Boxer unlocked Dangerous Minds on the 14th, and I did it 5 days later on the 19th. But my line is still green. So in other words, all the underlines in this column are always going to be green, and all the other ones are on the right are always going to be orange, except when they're dimmed orange, because you see here on Prince Not Dead, I have that unlocked, and Boxer doesn't. So why do the colors need to be there at all? Wouldn't it be better just to have the player names, just the names,
the background? Why not
stay static at the top of the list, like right here in this space that we're not going to be using at all, or right below the menu bar here? Keep the player names there while I scroll through the list, so I can always see that right column is Boxer, instead of just showing me the orange color. By the time I get to the bottom of the list, I'm supposed to remember that Boxer's color is orange.
Yeah.
I also don't know. Presumably, it's showing him as orange because that's always the second player, or maybe that's his background color. I don't know. Let's pick another player. Let's pick another player and see what it says. Compare? Yeah. I'm curious.
So whether it's tied to their... How do we do that? Yeah,
so let's choose
well,
you.
See, his background there is orange as well, so maybe that's it. So let's find out if, yeah, compare mine.
Yeah, so yours is blue. Yep. Now, what it would do if you were green as well, they would both be green.
They would both be green.
And that would be completely useless.
Do we have a green one?
I don't know.
That would be funny.
Oh, see, I hit back from there, and that back from here doesn't bring me back to the previous screen. It brings me to the home screen. So
I haven't played this game, so there's nothing to compare. But.
Yeah, I have to go to the stop comparing, and then I have to go back. Now I'm on achievements, so now I need to go down here and left, and then up.
You need to pick a different
to get
icon,
back to get back to the same function, and then I have to choose a person from this part of the list. I don't know how I would guess who is green though. Because there's no indication here of what their background color is. Even if we look at if we look at Boxer there, but that's not a color. That's a picture. So I don't know if there's any way of actually telling what background color is going to be used for a person. Okay, there's Lego Allied Forces green, and yes, all the bars are green. Green bars everywhere.
Oh, that is funny.
Oh, and again, I hit the back button. It brings me back to the home screen instead of I have to go down and hit stop comparing, which is in the same place as compare with friends, which you can't reach from some of the menus because it skips between achievements and achievements here directly.
Yep. So that's maybe just a graphical representation based on whatever highlight color that they decided to pick, which is arbitrary because everyone picks their own, and it could be identical or it could be. Yeah.
Now this is interesting. This is captures, and because again I'm in the game hub, this isn't captures of my friends because I'm in the game hub. I'm not on my friends list. These are all captures for Fallout 4, which is an amazingly popular game. So you imagine, I don't know,
what's under everything? You can actually select what other options to discriminate and or limit.
It just lets you choose between game clips and screenshots.
Oh, okay. So
there's no other way. Yeah, there's no other way of filtering this. I don't know if these are in chronological order. It shows me how many likes and comments there are, but most of them are 0, which seems to be true of most captures.
People are too busy. I mean, who wants to rate captures and stuff? Unless
there's no way. There's no way of restricting this just to my friends. Although I think if I go to another part of the interface, I think I can do that. So if I go to activity. Oh, and this is nice also because when you back out of an app like that, like this app has that menu across the top that you scroll through. But then when I hit the home button to go through, it shrinks down, and notice it's still selected. So there's an underline here that shows that captures is selected, but there's also a bounding box around this that shows that is selected. So I really don't know what's going to happen when I hit the up button. It turns out, it just moves the box to the menu above, where now the highlight, the underlining on the menu is green instead of white.
Yeah, it's like you're in a Russian nesting doll. You're in an interface within an interface.
So if you go to community, community is where you see your friends' clips or captures.
As opposed to the other one.
Regardless of game. But the other one is just a fire hose of all captures for Fallout 4, presumably in reverse chronological order with no filters except video clip versus screenshot.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to take a little break, and we're going to...
Yeah, no, I think we're done.
Get some highlights of things.
I think we're done harping on this.
Well, let's try to keep... Now, there are some good things. Maybe we should preface that or... post this that we're not totally dumping on this. There are a lot of things on it which are nice. There are a lot of things that are good.
No. There's I'm dumping on it. This is an embarrassment. There's nothing that this does that is better than what the 360 did. It has new things that the 360 didn't do, but it doesn't do anything that the 360 did as well as the 360's interface did it. The old, and I'm counting not just the cards or the guide, but the blades as well.
No, but I love the system interface. I absolutely adore that. And to be honest, if they had replicated that same simplicity and functionality of it within other things, I would have loved it.
I don't see how the system interface here is better than the 360's was. I really don't.
In fact, in terms of the number I would say of clicks, it's better than what the system was before the Xbox One. I'm trying to keep it within.
Unfortunately, I don't have access to a non-upgraded machine, so I cannot compare those directly. And I use the 360 longer, but just
the old one used to be, well, yeah, if you go to system settings, what the old one used to be is all those little check boxes, those little squares.
Yes,
that's all it was. It was just squares everywhere. And depending on which square you hit, you got another set of squares.
That was great. I had no problem with that. Just look at the number. Look at the number of interactions it takes to get to some settings, though. Now, again, it's totally unclear what's highlighted up here. It's just this very subtle little green underline under home that shows me where I am. But now I want to get to settings. Okay, so if I move left from home, it's not going to go over here to this, which is apparently not a selectable item. It's going to move me into the sidebar. But it moves me into the sidebar at the top, which is this thing, which is a sign out screen, I guess, which is the users on the box. So I could sign in, sign out, whatever. Now I have to scroll down. So, okay, so that's one left click, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down clicks. But now I have to move. I can't just click on that. I've got to go over here, left click. So that's 7. I have to click now on settings. And now I have to find something to click on again. So you're talking 9 clicks to get to any actual settings. And actually, no, wait, I have to move right and then click on again. So that's 11.
And there's no hot clicks anywhere or a shorter option?
Not that I'm aware of, and not that it's telling me about. Maybe there's one that I don't. Maybe there's one that I don't know about.
Because there are some short snapping and unsnapping type quick ones. So maybe we.
Well, okay. If I go down to the bottom here, maybe I could snap the settings app. But no, see, settings does not appear in this app list. It used to be settings used to be an app that showed up that you could pin it. But sure? that doesn't appear to be an option anymore. Okay, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then I do get to settings. Okay, so that's a faster way. But again, it's totally off the screen. You'd have to know it was there to do that. Otherwise, the prominent way is this way, which is left, down, down.
Yeah, so I don't want to totally dump. Yeah,
and then that just brings you into this, and then you have to click it again. You have to click settings twice just to get it to open.
Yeah, no, there are a couple of things that I do like. The majority of it, though, to me is not that I hate it. It's that it's a wasted opportunity, and when you're using something like this, you don't want it to be annoying. You want to be able to get to what you need to get to and do what you want to do quickly, especially in gaming where you need to. And they don't seem to have achieved that.
There are things here that don't know, like, for instance, why do you need to wait until you're selecting an item to have text that shows what it is? Like, okay, I know the gear is settings. You don't need to tell me that. This one was a little less obvious. Once it shows up, it's like, oh, okay, that's game DVR. My games and apps, for some reason, has text no matter what, because I guess this icon is so vague and generic, there's no way anybody would know what it is. But the games here, why? I mean, okay, for these it makes sense. For this one, the game's name is too long; it takes up the whole screen. But again,
or Elder Scrolls, you can't read because it's so small.
You're wasting so much of the space on this screen. Yeah, that's why you need it, because
I think there's buzzwords for this entire evaluation. That would be it. Is that there is too much unused available real estate that could be utilized in a greater fashion to do the functionality of what gamers want or what the user wants at the time to use the applications and to change the functions that you need. And
it's like on the
give me the information I'm
on the
looking
apps
for.
And the games, the text is redundant, and in this case, it covers almost the entire card. The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited, and yet over here we have this generic TV icon where the word TV doesn't appear until I select it. There's just no. There's a lack of consistency where it's needed, and there's a slavish consistency where it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to treat these two icons the same. This one quite clearly tells me what it is, whether I've selected it or not. This one is utterly opaque until you go over it and say, oh yeah, that rectangle is a TV because of these tiny, indiscernible little details in this tiny little circle that indicate, okay, that's buttons on a TV, or maybe LEDs on the front of a TV display, as opposed to this rectangle, which is some other kind of TV. And thank goodness people still know what film sprockets are. So when you look at that, you can tell that that's a DVR.
I've never understood that, to be honest. I did want to mention it, but yeah, I never understood why a lot of people or even users stuff like this actually use film sprockets to identify videos.
A digital method of recording broadcast video.
People still use the phrase tape. It's amazing. Yeah, we're going to tape this. It's like, no, you're not going to tape this. There's no tape. Or say they're going to film this. I'm going to go film that. He goes, there's no film in that
why
camera.
isn't it a little VHS cassette then instead of film sprockets?
Right. That would be more modern, when you think about it. So people use generic terms for things when they mean one thing, but
besides this gives
another.
Me flashbacks of 16mm projectors jamming, so I don't want to see that.
Oh please, I remember 8, Super 8, 16, Super 16, 35, 70.
Right. Well, we've banged on about this for about an hour, and even after I cut this down, it's going to be too long, so I think that's it for us and the next Xbox interface.
Yes, avoid it at all costs. We don't.
I wish there was an alternative. I wish there was an alternative shell. I wish I could get that guide like the 360 instead of this. We just have to be glad that Bungie put a really good interface on Destiny, so we don't really have to interact with this too much.
No.
But for the things you have to, it's ponderous and
Star Wars' interface
annoying.
Is really good too. Yeah, I mean they for whatever reason.
Yes, I've seen that in some of the YouTubes. I've seen that some of the Let's Plays that people are doing.
This is the thing, and we're gonna have to suffer through it for God knows how long. Quite possibly for the entire use, rest of the device. I mean, if this is going to be the standard for the next 10 years, because that's what this console is going to supposedly last for.
Is that the mobile phone interface they put on for the what is it, the One Glass or whatever it's called on their phone? It's
actually Smart Glass.
Smart Glass is actually much better than this. It's actually
ironically
it's almost easier to do some of the functions on the phone than it is to do it on the console.
I think it's because it could be they had too much real estate, because when you have to consolidate for a device like that and keep things down to a easily recognizable, minimal and a functional device, sometimes the simplicity that you're looking for becomes more elegant on something that's small. Whereas the TV, maybe they had too much room to play with. They tried to shoehorn in all the ads and the pushed content, and then everything else kind of took a back seat, and they said, we'll kind of slap this around over here. But for the choice of their font style and sizes, that leaves these gaping holes for which there's no need for them to exist. And if you would simply redesign some placements of things, it would give you the information that you would want or need in one window, rather than having to scroll up or down or left or right through several of them to get the same stuff.
And this is one last dig before we go here. Even the behavior of this top horizontal menu is inconsistent. Because watch what happens when you hit the last item, right?
No,
when you hit the last item, which is store.
I loathe that. I loathe that. That harps back to the old Windows. When you click a tab, it suddenly pushes all the other tabs around in a window.
It invisibly breaks down into a hierarchy where store is a container that includes games, apps, movies, and TV.
Yes.
It keeps the previous 3 items there on the left, so these are still here.
Yep.
That's just terrible. So now, so now again, everything shifts when you do this. Everything shifts entirely.
Yep.
There's no spatial consistency to it whatsoever.
Yep. All I can think of is that was a concession because they had so many things under it, than rather going down or making it feel like an entire new window pane, which it is. Yeah, they had to change the entire bar up at the top, because that's where the main location for what you would select is
I also noticed that on these screens, the text labeling for apps is always there.
Yes,
whether you're mouse overing it or not.
Why
but here's the other thing, right?
It makes sense, right?
If you look at this first row, right, which is below that first row, just below the promoted content, right? The first one, which is the Hulu and the Sling thing, right? Yep. Now look at the way these are formatted, right? These are formatted like the way the pinned games are on the first screen. We've got a shaded lower quarter
Shade
or lower
bar.
10% or whatever it is,
and
that has the text label with the game, with the name.
Now scroll down,
and even if it's redundant, it's there.
Yeah, but scroll down one
more.
Now
you blow down to the new releases. Now instead of that, now we have the text label under the button, without the shading. Even though these buttons appear to be the same size.
Yep.
So I don't know why
there seems to be a massive inconsistency.
Those
with a bunch
are like
of different
that.
things. Now it's subtle. You don't really notice it unless you're looking
and also
at it.
it's the different kind of selection, right? So that when you're collecting this app, what I get is I get the green, which is my selected background color, as background for the text on the name of the icon, as well as the white bounding box.
Yep.
But when I move down, the highlight goes away. I get only the bounding box. And notice 2 of these icons are entirely white, which means that the bounding box now is essentially invisible. That NBC button is just a tiny bit bigger than the buttons on the left and the right. Which you can see when I move left and right, you can see here that it gets a little bit smaller. But it means that for all intents and purposes, that selection, when you have these white boxes chosen, is invisible.
Yep.
And it doesn't highlight the name the way it does on the upper row.
Yeah, now when you scroll up, you can actually see how the layout of that, with all the buttons down underneath and the 2 main buttons right there, it's got your icon in the upper left-hand corner. It's got the highlighted text there. That interface, if you take it as a whole, that is the framework of which they should have stayed. That is clean and easy and simple and functional. And if they simply populated those main ones there with the things that you needed and kept the top bar limited to the functionalities that you needed and or wanted, that would have been perfect. That would have been fine. I want to know, that would have worked.
Why couldn't this be a pull down? Like, for instance, if I hit one of the menu buttons here, you figure I could get apps to pull down into, like, for instance, some kind of thing of filtering categories, or like in the games list, I've got new releases and browse and search, and why can't I hit? But the 2 buttons I've got here, they do nothing on this screen. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Why do they need to exist?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, for instance, this whole top of this page is an ad for Fallout 4, welcome home. And now if I bring up the menu button here, what is this? I mean, what is this? This top item, Fallout 4, welcome home, cannot be selected. The only option I have is help. And the way to get out of this is to hit the back button. But again, unlike the Xbox guide, which showed you what each of the colored buttons would do if you hit it, there's no indication here that back is going to work. Because sometimes back does something and sometimes it doesn't. And you never get an indication of what back is going to do. Is it going to bring you to the previous state? Or is it going to bring you to the home? Or is it going to do nothing?
Who knows?
And hitting the other button, which is the view button, with anything, it does absolutely nothing.
So yeah. So what do you say? Hot mess?
It's steaming pile. Absolutely steaming pile.
Okay. Well, we've gone from hot mess to steaming pile. So yeah. Well, thanks for all for tuning in and listening to us bitch about the current Xbox interface. Hopefully, at some point, they may get some feedback. I don't know what channels that you would have to actually convey to them in any meaningful way that would actually implement. Well, when
I post
updates.
the video, I'll tweet it to Major Nelson. Maybe I don't know. I don't know that he'd have any reason to pay. Also,
any attention whatsoever.
See, I'm just digging around. I'm finding new stuff that I hadn't even noticed before. Right? I'm in a promotional ad for Elite Dangerous. So I guess this is the store page.
Yep.
Again, look at all the wasted space. My name is still up here on the left.
Here's something. Okay,
now
all
the
on
space
that box
from there to the right is now missing. There's no top level menu here at all. If I push up, I get nothing. But now I've got a tiny box here in which the description text is bounded, and I have to
scroll through it.
I have to use the right stick to scroll through and read this, because if I use the left stick, it just moves the selection box.
Why didn't they simply have the
what
highlighted
is this
stars?
Nonsense.
I don't know. Why do they just have the star ratings, the size of the teen and whatnot, under or at a lower bar where it's next to the buy and view games? Why did they have that down there before the broadcast? Why broadcast is necessary, I don't know. And simply have the descriptive text all the way over on the right-hand side.
And look at how small the content advisory over here. I mean, this thing is tiny. Yep. And even not only is the rating so tiny, but then you've got the reasons here, which is drug reference and fantasy violence. Wow. It's also absolutely tiny.
I would call that illegible from the couch. I don't know what I rating you would have to have, but no, I could not read that from the couch if you put a gun to my head. So, and my couch is only like 13 feet away from the TV. So, yeah.
Also, the box doesn't know me at all. It says I would also like Titanfall. So
yep, apparently. So yeah. So all right. Any last words other than ugh?
No, it's really terrible.
Mm-hmm. Well, in its defense, I love its performance. I love that a lot of the networking systems has actually been a lot easier and simpler for me. I get a lot better network performance out of this than I ever had in set done by 360.
Wow, I wonder how long it would take us to scroll to the bottom of the terms and conditions.
I don't even know if that is a thing.
It is the thing. I'm doing it.
No, the bottom. I don't think it exists. I just think it would continue on.
It says I'm halfway there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a tiny little indication on the right hand side of the scroll bar. Yep. But oh my god, that's okay. Do you see that?
Hold on, a little delayed.
I'm gonna move it. When you stop moving it disappears. So once you're looking at the document, you can't tell where you are in the document until you move it again.
That's always refreshing.
Terrible.
I wonder what it would cost to pay a lawyer to read and explain this to an actual user, because without being a lawyer, I can't imagine actually understanding the vast majority of the language and descriptions of these things. I really, really don't. Okay, wow. Okay, is that the end? At the end.
Yeah, that was the end.
Now it's gone. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll all see you next time. And we won't have a bitch fest on this, and we haven't got PS4, so we can't do a comparison.
No, we'll have more games. We're going to be playing more games again. Minecraft and Mass Effect, and a little bit of Destiny here and there. And
I'm trying to get marathon on the channel
and some new stuff.
Desperately trying to get him to play Star Wars. I will do my best, guys.
And,
I promise.
Maybe I'll do something with Fallout. I have to figure out. I'm not going to do a full play out of that because Mass Effect is our big RPG series that we're doing right now. But maybe I'll pick like one special mission to stream, and we'll do that.
Or maybe Goat Simulator.
Have you watched anybody play it?
Play what?
Fallout 4.
No, I have asked a bunch of my friends that I do see on my list playing, and I've asked them what their impressions and feelings of them, and they have all been vastly positive on every aspect. So obviously a lot of people are loving it, and the fact that it's set in and around Boston is going to be, a personal interest of mine, simply because I grew up in the city, I went to school in the city, so getting a chance to see that in a dystopian futuristic game is kind of cool.
I tell you what we'll do then. I'm just going to stop recording now, and then I will load it up and I will show you a location. How about that? All right. Cool. All right, so thanks everybody for watching. If you've actually watched this far into the video, kudos to you.
Yay.
I hope it was slightly less painful than actually using the Xbox's interface.
Send us your address and we'll give you $5.
No, we will not do that.
That is a lie. So, thanks for watching.